Welcome to Withdraw Consent. I'm Jack. So if you clicked on this, you're probably skeptical of the title of this episode, and you may not have clicked on it because it may have been too offensive. Because when I grew up, I was told capitalism is the best and all of this, and we're just capitalists and we pull ourselves up by the bootstraps. Okay. I'm not making the argument that capitalism is good or bad in this episode. What I'm making the argument of is that America does not, nor has ever had capitalism. It's kind of a psyop where they say you have one thing and then they just do a bait and switch, right? Let me just explain real quick and then I'm going to go into all the details, right? So Adam Smith, free hand of the market, just what is the definition of capitalism? Is competition within a free market. That's what they said they were giving us, and then they never gave us that, okay? So look, subsidies. Imagine something subsidized. Is that a free market or not? So you can look in any industry. Look at Tesla, right? I think it was California, gave subsidies to every auto manufacturer that manufactures electric cars except for Tesla. Tesla, is that a fair market? You could look anywhere. You could look when they built the railroads and they got all these subsidies for doing it. Was that the free market? Look at these pipelines they're building under Biden's infrastructure plan. So I'm going to link in the references below a video from RFK Jr.'s channel called The Pipeline Deception, 30 minutes long. You should watch it. And if you want to see the conspiracy theory on that, Victor's is you can have these pipelines everywhere that if one ruptures, it shuts off all the vehicles and everybody goes unconscious in the area and starts foaming at the mouth. Imagine if people tried to rise up and you had this network of pipes everywhere that you could just rupture. That's Victor's conspiracy theory, but you should watch that, right? So basically, I think the number is we have 9,000 miles of these carbon capture pipelines right now, but Biden's infrastructure plan makes room for 100,000 more miles of them. They're just going to network everywhere, right? But my point here is they're going to be paid for with hundreds of billions of dollars of subsidies. And so how much of that money are you going to get? How much am I going to get? Because I can make a pipeline company right now. I could just go hire a bunch of people and stuff like that if I had billions of dollars in subsidy money, but I don't. I don't know people in Washington, D.C. I don't have those contacts. You don't either, I'm guessing, right? So basically, you're a peasant and I'm a peasant. And then these rich people are just getting richer through subsidies. And you're like, oh, no, but it's free market. It's not free market. It's you know people there or you don't. And you could look at this in all different, anywhere there's a subsidy, there necessarily can't be a free market. So basically you look at pharmaceutical companies, they get subsidies and then they use that to develop the medicine. Then they patent the medicine. They don't pay back the subsidy. They make extreme profiteering off the medicine until the patent expires. And it's just this insane where are you imagining that this is a level playing field? And so also now you could say, well, wait, what about entrepreneurship? Okay. I agree with you there, but entrepreneurship is not something that's unique to capitalism. So you can have entrepreneurship in capitalism. In this system we have here, you could have it in Muammar Gaddafi plugged entrepreneurship in his basically communist. It wasn't like Marxist, it was his own version of communism, but basically he had made this communist society, but he pushed entrepreneurship. So entrepreneurship is not exclusive to capitalism. That we have it doesn't mean that we have capitalism. That's not what we have. I'm also not claiming that we have like a plutocracy because we're not governed by the wealthy. The wealthy stand above those who govern us. And the people who are governing us are just, they're like bottom feeders, but they're higher than us. They're leeching and they're getting millions and millions and millions of dollars, but they're not the wealthy. Now, Elon Musk is the wealthy, and him stepping into a governing thing is him totally being out of line and going towards plutocracy. But normally that's not the pattern in the United States. So if I was just making up words, what I would say we have is corporate socialism, right? So we have the government giving out all these subsidies and bids and this and that. And if you're in the inside group in a corporation, then you can get these in profits immense, but it's not profit in a free market. Because if I was trying to compete against you and you get the subsidy, then there's no way I can compete because it's not a fair market. So what I call corporate socialism. Now, basically, I want to be very careful here. And I want to say, if you say you don't want socialism, that's fine. If you say you do want socialism, and there's different groups that say they do want socialism, very few say that they want corporate socialism, right? And so I would say I'd be very careful. I would say that if you were a communist and just take one aspect of communism, not the murdering millions of people, none of that stuff, not owning the means of production, not no property, none of that stuff. Just take that they want the government to take the taxes and provide free healthcare. That's a type of socialism, right? That one aspect is better than corporate socialism. Imagine corporate socialism where the people I don't care about corporations in the least bit, right? So I don't care to give them stuff. And imagine it wasn't corporate socialism. They didn't give this, but it was a form of socialism where you at least got free healthcare. It was poor, inadequate healthcare, but you had basic healthcare, we'll just say. Then that one communist position of saying socialism down to the people is superior to the corporate socialist position that we're in now. Now, it's not the ideal or what I'm pushing for, but I'm just saying that's how bad this corporate socialism is. It's absolutely ridiculous. And you could even get even more basic with the subsidies. Like, what if I'm a farmer and I'm trying to compete, and the neighbor who just knows the senator or whatever, and he's getting paid subsidies to keep his field fallow and not grow, so he doesn't have to do any work, but he still gets paid, and I'm not, and so he's using that energy to go in a different direction. Maybe they're selling honey and all that stuff, so they're being more profitable than I am because they're making money for the labor they should be doing in the field and this other new enterprise that they now have the time and energy for. And then they can outcompete me because it's not a fair market, right? So anyways, I wanted to go into another aspect of this, but Victor says I shouldn't. I'll do it in a limited aspect, because there's one thing where you say, okay, this is capitalism, so basically you're this wealthy corporation and you reinvest all your money back into your corporation so that you have no tax liability. Now, I have tax liability because I'm a wage slave, and then this corporation doesn't because they're reinvesting the money. And as Victor says, that is fine for them to do because they are creating jobs and this and that. But my point here is that if you've acquired your entire corporation and the wealth of the corporation through subsidies, and whether you're in a subsidy position or not this year, and now you have all that capital, so then you reinvest the capital into the company, so you have no tax liability, but I still have tax liability, but I have no access to the subsidies and stuff to get the company that's worth millions of dollars so that I can do that thing. Kind of trash. Like Jeff Bezos paying zero money. I don't know if he got those through subsidies, but you figure, okay. And this is another one of Victor's point. It was a subsidy during COVID-19 when mom and pop stores locked down because they were forced to, and Walmart stayed open and Amazon stayed. That was a form of subsidy. That was not free market competition, and none of it had to do with COVID-19 or a virus, or none of it had to do with that. It just had to do with upward transfer of wealth and screwing mom and pop. So how do you imagine that that's a fair playing field? Because there's no way that you can argue to me that the little corner store that you could buy the same similar things that you could buy at Walmart, but just a smaller selection of them, that one is unsafe for people to be in, but it's safe for people to be in Walmart. There's tons of examples of these. You could even go back. I told this story before, but you can go back to the very first president of the United States, George Washington, right? He had to pay the war debt, so he put taxation on liquor. Two forms of taxation. One, if you cook the moonshine by the case, one by the jug, I think it was, right? And so the small cookers of moonshine could only do it by the jug, and the big ones, the corporations of the time, even if they weren't corporate, could do it by the case. And so you had less taxation if you do it by the case. You could outcompete your small competitors, put them out of business, because it was never a playing field, never a fair playing field. George Washington didn't make a level playing field. Those small producers in Pennsylvania then rebelled, called the Whiskey Rebellion. George Washington raised an army bigger than the entire Continental Army to go out there and stop them. From the very beginning, it wasn't a fair playing field. Now, you could say, well, but capitalism is great if we could do it. Okay, maybe not. But in order for capitalism to work would mean that it would have to be competition in a free market, which means that the government would have to stay out of the economic system. So you would have to put people in power in Washington, D.C. or whatever country you live in who are capable of keeping their hands out of the pie. And so the chances of finding people who can do that are slim. Not impossible, but slim. And we definitely have the opposite of that now in the United States. And if you look in your country, I'm just going to guess that you have corruption in your at the top, we'll just say, that prevents the people from having a fair playing field. And it always hurts the people at the bottom who are trying to do upward social mobility, and it always favors people at the top, with some favor to the middle, depending on if you have the capital to invest. And if you don't have capital to invest, you're just cut out. You just live, and then you're a peasant, and that's great, Anyways, I think it was an interesting way to look at it, because growing up revering capitalism as the best thing, and we all have an equal chance in this and that, but we don't. Now, you do have a chance for social mobility. You do have a chance to get there. It's just a very difficult road, and all the odds are stacked against you. It's not just competition in a free market. Anyways, what do you think about this? This is very controversial, but I think that the logic and the facts support my position, which is kind of a new position that I got from watching a bunch of communists, and they were saying these things about subsidies. I'm like, darn it if they're right. Now, I'm not going commie, but I'm just saying, I want to find from every viewpoint in life, I want to find where am I wrong? Where are they right? And I guarantee you I don't agree with their conclusions about what to do because of this, but that's fine. The base thing, we want to understand what it is. And now I want to go, like Hitler had a ton of stuff against capitalism. I want to go review all of that and see if it was similar stuff to what I'm talking about now, or see if he was talking about the fundamentals of real capitalism. I'm not sure the answer to that, but I want to find out in the future. And if it's good, I want to make an episode about it. Anyways, that's what I got for you today. See you next time.